DCI Music Video, the leader in music instruction and the first company to release instructional music video, brings you the best.
Oh, yeah.
I like the part about playing a little phrase and then leaving space, and I can hear how the drums would fill that in.
Yell at everybody every time you say something, so sometimes if you did, you'd frighten them. I think the same thing musically.
DCI Music Video, the first in instructional music video.
Hi, welcome to part 2 of Drums and Percussion, Working It Out. In this tape, Walfredo and I will discuss working together in a few different styles. What's not covered stylistically here is most probably discussed in part 1, so if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. The first style we'll cover is the reggae style, so enjoy it. There's a lot of different ways to play reggae. Again, this kind of goes along with a triplet feel sometimes and a shuffle funk feel. It also goes almost in between a lot of the times. Again,
This is our own style, I would call it.
Our own style of
yes,
reggae. Right?
Dave Walfredo reggae style.
Okay. Anyway, there's a couple of basic beats. So if I were to play a reggae groove, this might be one of them. 1, 2. Okay, so the reggae style, here's yet another demonstration with a band in a musical situation of trying to play, again, musically together, and then we have other musicians to play with as well. This is another consideration. So now it's a four-way thing, or however many people you're playing with to try and work out what you're doing. Actually, before we go to the band cut, did you want to add anything to that?
Like I said, it's our own style. I was mixing up many things there. As you could see, we had talked about before, mixing rhythms. So it's not strictly, I would say, a Jamaican down-to-earth reggae. It's our basic idea of mixing.
Definitely not from my part. I mean, I've taken things that I've heard from many different things, and I'm not playing authentically. I'm playing, you know, more maybe in a jazz tradition or a jazz style of, or improvisational style of playing reggae type of feeling.
And the bottom line is, if it cooks, if it's in there and it makes it and it swings, like they say, it's good.
It's the kind of attitude I like. Here's the demo.
This is a bomba rhythm of Puerto Rico that we're going to play and try to play, and I want to dedicate it to all my Puerto Rican friends, and especially to Giovanni. And I hope I'm playing it right, so here it goes.
To continue our Latin demonstration, we're going to do our version of a Mozambique, and what we're going to try to do is simulate many percussionists playing together. So this is our version of a Mozambique. Moving on to the samba, we'd like to demonstrate our version of trying to combine a couple different percussion parts and playing a samba together and staying out of each other's way. At first, I'm going to be playing the big pseudo drum part on the floor tom, and the snare, a couple of variations on the snare drum parts, and Wilfredo will be playing a shaker and some different parts over here, the bell part and such, correct?
Yes.
On the samba. Okay.
Correct.
Right. So here we go, the samba. 1, 2. Okay, in this section we're going to talk about the 6/8 rhythm, which is another Latin-based rhythm. There's a very predominant clave in 6/8. I'd like Wilfredo to talk a little bit about what he uses when he plays in the 6/8 clave and just how he approaches it and the things that he uses.
Okay, Dave, the 6/8 clave is basically in okay, when we talked about the rudiments before and applying them to the rhythms, you remember that we specified, of course, the application to the rhythms itself, the double paradiddles, then the double paradiddle, how it comes in place with that, which will be so how you will hear during our whole thing basically a double paradiddle, and the whole point is the feel, you know. So you will hear it there, but the hands are faster. Double paradiddle hands, which come in handy.
Right. And what I like to do a lot of the times, my whole rhythm, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, is based off the same basic paradiddle pattern. Except what I found that's very interesting that makes this whole thing work very well is to really use the displacement, the beat displacement, against a very solid 6/8 groove. So we just like to demonstrate some of that for a minute, playing the groove and then using some displacement things in the triplet version. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so what we'd like to do now is actually just do some loose soloistic type of playing using the 6/8 clave and the 6/8 feel as our whole basis for what we're going to do. So this brings us to a shuffle rhythm, or leaning more towards swing or jazz or that kind of patterns. Talking about a shuffle, the first thing I want to do is actually talk about some drum parts as far as a shuffle goes, because you can play, a shuffle is obviously now there's a lot of ways to split that up depending on whether you want to play it on the hi-hat. Just play 2 and 4 on the snare drum. Whether you want to play the whole shuffle rhythm with both. Or whether you want to play the shuffle rhythm with the left hand and just quarter notes with the right hand. There's a lot of ways to go here. Now, when you mix this up and you have a percussionist that is also going to become involved in this groove, again, you have to make sure that you're playing triplets. It's very triplet oriented, and that you also work together. But I think Wilfredo has something to say about a percussionist's role in playing a shuffle rhythm.
If a percussionist is playing against the patterns of shuffle rhythms that they've just played, you have to be very careful not to play 8 notes against his dotted 16ths, as you can see. Because it'll clash, and I've heard a lot of things like that. So that's when you hear things and you say, well, it's not right. So the percussionist, the conga player, should know. That's where the music comes in, and you should know a lot of music. So you would play your dotted 16 notes.
Yeah, it's also very important for the drummer to realize, like I said, if you're not swinging every little thing that you do, every little note, every little fill, accents especially, if you have to accent the and of 4, the last triplet of 4, whatever you want to call it, you have to do that accent and you're not right on it. It's the whole feel, the whole groove gets destroyed. So just to demonstrate playing together in a shuffle format, be like this. Okay, this leads us into basically straight ahead jazz, right? Same kind of idea. From the drum standpoint, though, this again has to do a lot with when you're working with a percussionist, you can't quite be as free and as loose, and especially you have to watch out how many tom-toms you're playing, because the basic part of the percussion part is taking up a lot of the forward motion, and he has a pattern. You play your pattern that you use, which is basically the same pattern, right?
Right, and on jazz, I try to be as strict as I can. Not too many things, and let the drummer swing jazz. Actually, it's more of a conga color that comes back from the bebop era.
So then the dynamic would be quite different, too.
More of a timekeeper.
But it's a lighter thing, right?
It is, as long as it's a big band or as it gets harder, you get stronger.
Right. Okay, just if I were to do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
You know, an important thing, Dave, that I want to make a point of it is that many drummers make the mistake of playing that in the wrong place, like dum dum ba.
Right.
Dum,
For
dum.
instance, if you play this, some people go.
And many times also, if there is a conga drum player, I don't think it's necessary for the drummer to do it, because that came out of this. When there is no conga drummer, then the drummer would do ga, goon, goon, ba, and try to imitate this. So sometimes it just clashes a lot when you see the two guys doing.
Yeah, again, it's not necessary. If
not
that's
necessary.
happening over there, it's again about working it out to make sure that you're not doubling what's already going on, especially in a style of music where it has to be lighter anyway. So, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that pretty covers that.
The one thing that I wanted to add to this too, you notice we did a phrase together a lot. You know, we did a lot of things where, you know, if he started playing quarter notes or something that was a continuous pattern, I tried to play off of that. So it's just always about listening. It's always about listening to each other.
That's true.
So here's a band example of that kind of puts all of this into a demonstration with music. So let's say you go into a studio situation or a live situation. Let's take a studio situation first, a film date or something like that. What do you do? What do you have to do?
Well, I'll first check out the drummer, see who he is, see who I'm going to have to play with, and then I'll check the music out and see what the arranger has written down, wants me to play. And I'll take it from there. It's actually very loose sometimes. It depends on the conductor and the people you're playing with.
If you have to play with a drummer you've never played with before, it doesn't matter what the situation, live or studio or whatever. Talk about that for a minute. I mean, what do you have to do?
Have to open my ears pretty well and see what's his style of playing. If he plays too busy and he has a lot of tom-toms, I'm probably going to play simpler. If he's on the pocket type of drummer that just plays time and rhythm, I'll probably start getting into some rhythms that I know.
So you actually use a lot of rhythms, Cuban rhythms, Latin American rhythms, even in a contemporary style.
Yes, that's my forte, I would say, are Cuban rhythms and all rhythms from Puerto Rico and South America, etc. Brazilian rhythms, of course, are beautiful. Like, for instance, on the film The Predator 2, which I did, and there were 9 percussionists there, and the conductor just gave us a very loose situation, do what you want situation, invent.
Right.
Try to just put in what you like because they have confidence in you. Sometimes they'll write it down, though, and you're going to have to go with what he wants. Of course, he's a guy that pays, so you got to do what he wants, you know. But once they see you play and you're getting in little things here and there that are okay, they'll just love it and say, hey, leave it in.
Is it necessary for percussionists to read?
It's very important today in studio work and all types of. I highly recommend all the young drummers coming up today and percussionists and to read.
Right.
To go through rudiments, to go through all kinds of books, listen a lot to all kinds of music, tapes, you know, etc.
I'm going to talk a little bit about something that you're very knowledgeable in, which is Cuban rhythms and what is known as the clave. I don't want to get deep into trying to lay down rules about what the clave is and this is the only way, but I'm very interested as a drummer, as an American drummer, trying to play those rhythms sometimes. And I know I discuss it with a lot of my friends when we get involved in playing with authentic Cuban musicians or just playing that kind of music with people, with different people. Sometimes it's hard for us to hear where the clave is. For example, I mean, clave 3/2 is that is the very simple way, and the more contemporary way, whatever, that, right? 3/2, 2/3, 1, inverting it, or 1, whatever, right? But for us to hear sometimes where the clave starts and where, if it is 2/3 or 3/2, has always been a very confusing topic for me personally, and I know a lot of my friend drummers that we kind of. I just want you to talk for a minute about the clave and how you approach what do we need to listen to? I mean, musically, from a percussionist standpoint, what do we need to listen to identify?
Well, actually, it's hard for me too, and it's an incredible subject. It's been going on and on, discussions between players about where it is, if it's 2 and 3, 3 and 2. The clave is like a form, and from there, that form of 3/2, let's say it's bang, 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 or bang, 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 bang. You could say it's like a form, and the rest of the rhythm goes around that. The cascara goes around that. So,
and the cascara is what?
The side of the timbales, or the side of, which we'll demonstrate later on, sticking on the side of the conga drum when they play rhythms called columbia or jambu, things like that. And
for all these things, see, it's important for a drummer to actually learn what these rhythms are called and what they are and how they are.
It is. Right? It is very important. It is very important to have the knowledge. Let's say if you're going to get into Cuban music, get into Cuban music. If you're going to get into Puerto Rican rhythms that have not been exposed that much yet, of course, in this country, to the Latin people, we know it and we love it. You know, like plena and the bomba. And then you go to Santo Domingo and you have merengue and different types of form. You should kind of put it all in its place, not just say, well, this is Latin music. They all have a secret. Like, and then say, well, now I'm going to study Brazilian music, Brazilian rhythms, and get deep into that. Right. You know all the secrets of the pandeiro and the rhythms of the south of Brazil, northern Brazil. Right. You know, so you know what to apply at the right time because they're all different. Right. The word Latin rhythms, to me, it's like saying, well, everything is mixed together. You know, which in a way it's great because once you know all that, you mix them like I do. I kind of feel there's one world. So you take that and you have like new world music in a lot of ways. But getting back to the clave, you know, if you take a tune, let's say it has 8 bars, 6 bars, 10 bars, 12, from A to the first ending, you're usually going to find that there's a 3 and 2 pattern because it's even.
Is there a tune that you can think of that would be demonstrative of something like Manteca, for example? Maybe would be an example of it's very obviously 2/3 because of the melody is saying.
Now I find it like when I go to the melody, ba, people, ba.
Changes to 3/2.
Okay, it changes to 3/2. So when you're playing, everything relates around that 2/3 clave. But now when you change to 3 and 2, ba, people, ba, you know, I'm not a singer, but you're gonna have to change the whole thing around. Now that changing has to be very not like bang, you know, go like that. You just have to weave it in. You know, weave it in the rhythm.
Okay, now that example is very simple. But what about something where, let's just say, if a conga player if you start playing, okay, if you start playing a rhythm, is there something on the congas or just a part of the rhythm? What do we listen for to understand to know if it's 3/2 or if it's 2/3?
Well, if I go, let's say, and I'm playing the cacara rhythm, I'm going cha 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 cha.
And where's one? Do it again.
Cha 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 cha. Now you're gonna feel that it's not 3/2. I can't even do it.
You're right, because it's starting on the 1. Da da da.
Yeah,
so it's 1 da da da.
Boom.
And that's a conga part.
That's your cacara, which is what you want to hear.
Okay. What about a conga part, or if or the bass part maybe? Is there a clue or something that helps you identify? Because my problem is, see, I'll always hear this music going on. And I sometimes will hear it the wrong way because the chord changes are telling me this is 1 when it actually is beat 3. So I tend to start in the middle of the clave, you know, a lot of the times because to my ears that's what it sounds like is happening. And then I think we all need to know like what's going. Is there any rules? Or is it just
no? There's not actually rules. You just hear it. You know, usually the bass is not on 1. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, bing, 1 and 2 and 4, bing, 4. You know, so to the American and to the person that's playing boom, boom, 4 quarter notes, straight quarter notes, or has been accustomed to playing 1, 3, 4, 1, not to play that 1, it's kind of awkward, you know.
What are some groups that we can listen to that would really help us get into?
There are many groups today that are incredible. I highly recommend groups like Los Van Van from Cuba, and they have an exceptional, the greatest percussionist, drummer, timbales. His name is Jose Luis Quintana Changuito, and he's my uncle, you know, and I hope he hears this tape. And remember Los Van Van. There are many groups coming out of Cuba that are they're doing great music down there. So I would highly recommend to hear those. And in the United States, you have Giovanni Hidalgo, who's an incredible percussionist. He's at we call him the extraterrestrial, because he's a virtuoso on the conga drums, you know. And he just did his album, and he's just fantastic. So I would get that, and of course other groups from Puerto Rico where they're incredibly advanced, I would say, very swinging music down there. So you got to get all these groups that come out of the island, you know. Right. Also from Santo Domingo, there's a group called 440, and you're going to hear beautiful tambora, the tambora drumming, merengues, you know. So the young generation has a lot of things going for them. Right. You know, I just did the picture, the Mambo Kings, and there, of course, you had many things that were done by Tito Puente, who I highly admire, and he's my friend. I've known him for years, and so on. So you should get involved in hearing Tito, and then come on up, because there's many talent.
So would that be advice for young players?
Yes, go out there and get the tapes and get good recordings and play with them. Try to find out the clave, sing the melodies, do melodies and rhythms with your mouth. Right. You know, if you could, like you said, if you can do it with your mouth, maybe you can sing it, you can play, if you can sing it, and what we do, lopata king king king, you could do lopata king king king. You know, so that's my advice to the young players, just to get yourself involved. I hear everybody, every drummer, everybody. It doesn't matter if it's a society drummer to a jazz drummer, the great drummers of yesterday, to the great Buddy, and of course now I'm hearing you. You know, now I'm playing with you, so it's like an incredible experience to be doing this, because your way of playing is like, you know, a lot of people say, "What? I don't understand what he's doing." Well, it's funny. I understood you the first day I played with you. You know, and I think that's what we have gone together.
Well, that's what's interesting for me, is that we're actually, because with all of my confusion a lot of the times as far as to what is supposed to be what when we're talking about a Latin, Cuban rhythm, and whether I'm playing correctly inside of it, the interesting thing is that when we actually just use our ears, or at least for me, when I just use my ears and I start to play, let's even displace things, because I like to play displaced and what I call backwards around different things. If I do that against what you're playing, a lot of the times it tends to fit in real nice, and still, I mean, not, you know, I don't do it, you know, a whole lot as far, you know, I try to do it tactfully along with the rhythms that you're playing, but it seems to work out real well. So I kind of feel like it's like almost a, like you said, almost a new thing to do, you know.
I hear you a lot. A lot of times I'll kind of just fit in something. I'll fit right into your displacement, and it'll come out good. Maybe. But a lot
of the times you actually do an authentic rhythm, or based on an authentic rhythm,
basic rhythms.
And then so we come up with, it's very interesting. So I guess the point I'm trying to make then is that it's very important to understand the basis of these rhythms and where they come from, but then don't be afraid to try and experiment with them if it fits musically.
Right. Another thing, there are many books out today, and one that I just picked up, but I've known the author for a long time, Frankie Malavé, and he has a book out that's very clear, very beautiful book, explains. I would say he goes through all the rhythms.
I'm familiar with the book.
You're familiar with the book.
Great book.
I think it's a very good book.
And audio tape, by the way. So it's
right. So you can hear the rhythms at the same time you're reading it.
It's called Afro-Cuban Rhythms for the drum set, I think, or something.
That's a very good book. I highly recommend that one. There are many Brazilian books out that are good. But I always feel that you have to, the best thing to do is just to take a plane and go down to that country and spend a couple of months down there.
That would be great.
But if you can't do that, you know, just get the tapes and the CDs and play along with them and ask a lot of questions, you know, because I could say something and then the other guy's going to say something, and you learn a lot of things from each person.
You use a lot of interesting stuff with the feet as well. You're not only a hand percussionist, you apply, when you're just playing, I mean, you did your your thing with the drum set and the percussion, but when you're just playing a percussion setup, it's different because you have feet things going on. Talk about that.
Like I said, being a drummer, I've always felt that you have 2 feet, and why should they be there doing nothing, you know? So I kind of applied the clave rhythm here, or wood block, or cowbell here to keep the time, and independence helps me on that.
Yeah, it's real interesting. I mean, playing with you and having all of those rhythms going on is very interesting, because even sometimes we're duplicating rhythms. Like, let's say you're doing an offbeat rhythm, hi-hat rhythm almost with your wood block. It's nice because it adds it's another color coming from another place.
And it's hard to, you have to practice it a lot. There's a lot of new players today, young players that are doing amazing things out there, you know, and I'm sure all the drummers and percussionists have heard him, you know, and I don't think I'm the only one. I really was like the pioneer in this many years ago, although I'm only 21, but I started doing that years just to play the drum set here, and I would put 2 congas here and play them at the same time, so it developed.
I think you'll enjoy this next section. This is a demonstration by Wilfredo, and he's basically doing everything himself. I think this is pretty amazing. I've never really seen anybody do it quite like this. He basically combines percussion and drum set. So this is his interpretation of combining the two and playing them at the same time, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's some interesting rhythms.
This system that I've been working is how to play your conga drums, percussion, your cowbells, and at the same time how to keep maybe a backbeat going, a rock and roll beat. And for the student, the easiest way to start practicing is very slow things, and just kind of figure that your left hand is your left stick, and instead of putting it on the snare drum, I'm going to place it on the conga drums, and you'll see the patterns that come out. You could play cha-cha, you could play your boleros, for instance. Okay, the next rhythm I'm going to go into is a popular songo, salsa, and then I'm going to go right into the 6/8 without talking.
Well, it's most certainly been a great week preparing to do these videos, and we've had a great time. I felt like I've learned a lot, and we've come up with some new things. So it's been a lot of fun. We're going to do one more tune for you, and hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the musicians who participated in the video with Wilfredo and I, Atmaro Ruiz on keyboards and John Pena on bass. They made the project very special. We had a lot of fun. I really wish to thank them. So, take care.